Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm gonna start a new series and it's gonna be called Talk It Out. So this series, Talk It Out, is going to be hopefully weekly or bi-weekly, just depends on how fast I complete a series. But basically I'm gonna read a series and then we're gonna break it down. So we're gonna talk it out. We're gonna talk the entire series. Because I like to talk about books. But with this one, it's gonna be a little bit different. First thing first, because I am heading to Empire State of Stories as an ambassador, my first ever brand trip. I decided that I'm going to restart the Delgatos series. So this Talk It Out series, the first thing we're going to talk about is Capone 1, 2, and 3. And while we're doing that, we're going to bedazzle my hat for my book expo outfit. This hat and this video is sponsored by House of Divinity. Shout out to my boy Delgatos for his creative and amazing clothing line. So this is really the focus point of the hat. So I have an inspirational pic that I found on Pinterest to do it. So this is what we're going for. So I got these gems from Amazon. And if you didn't know, now you know. Before I started yapping about books, I was a crafter. I still am, but I don't do crafting as much. So I used to own a small business, a small crafting business where I used to bedazzle all the time, make shirts and all kind of stuff. But life happened. I fell out of love with it, and then I got back into reading. So thankfully I already had all of these supplies. The only thing I didn't have was this type of gems, and I wanted these gems specifically. So so while I set up, I got my notes. I got some notes from Capone 1, Capone 2, and Capone 3. So we're going to get into it. First thing I want to say is I haven't reread this series since it first came out in, I think, 2024. Don't quote me on that. It's been a minute. So rereading it again was sort of like the first time. So when it comes to blinging something, your basic supplies, your surface, whichever is going to be a surface, your glue, we're going to use liquid fusion because this is what I have on hand. My rhinestone picker upper, of course your stones, and this is not needed, but it's up to you. I either use like a syringe with a blunt tip, or I use like a smaller glue bottle so I could have better control of my glue, especially with this type of surface. And I would just put this into this, because when you use this kind of bottle, because of the tip, it's like it's not focusing. But when you use this kind of tip, okay, there you go. It's kind of broad, it's big, so you have less control with the glue, and then your glue just starts going all over, and that's not what we want, because we don't want glue all over the place. So this is what we're gonna do. We'll put this one here, and this is going to help give us better control of our glue. Okay, so I took off the blunt tip because it was just too much. Capone. So let me start by saying, if you have not read the Delgatos series, go ahead and skip past this video. This is not the video for you because there will be spoilers and I don't want to spoil it for anybody. If you are, however, interested in the series but just feel like it's so much books or whatever and you don't really care about spoilers, then sure, have a seat, whatever. But let's get into it. So with the Delgatos, in this book, we start off with Capone. Capone is the twin of Capadonna, and he's the brother of Capri. So the Delgado siblings is Capone, Capadonna, and Capri. Capadonna is the older brother by a few minutes, the older twin brother by a few minutes of Capone. Capri is the younger sister. And when the book starts out, Capadonna is in jail serving some time, and Capri is preparing to take her LSAT. So basically, Capone is carrying the drug business and the illegal activities stuff, you know. So you are, of course, with any first with any first book, you are introduced to a plethora of characters. Just making sure I look at my inspo. Once again, this is my inspo pick here. Let's get into it. So when you're introduced to like these plethora of characters, sometimes it could feel like it's a lot because it's like, it's so much characters. Oh, so what I'm doing first is just I'm going to start with the brim of the hat, and I'm just going to start like dotting, like placing dots on where I want my rhinestones to go, and then I'll come back and place the rhinestones. Also, you don't want to use a lot of glue because you don't want your glue to be like popping, you know. So yes, when you're introduced to like the very first book in a series, it's basically the introduction to the characters that is going to be throughout the book. Also, this is really big rhinestone, so you don't really need a rhinestone pickup tool. You could just use your hand. It's your preference. But I'm going to also probably use both, and then I'm going to push my stones on there so you can have like a good grip. Probably need some more glue because we don't want these babies going nowhere. At least need it to last for the book expo. And the thing is about this glue is that it is clear and it is going to dry on clear too. So we in good hands. I've used this glue on multiple projects before. So like I said, we are introduced to a plethora of characters. So it might feel like it's a lot, but remember, it's a first book. And in the first book of a series with multiple characters, so buckle up for the ride. And with Capone 1, we are introduced to basically the start of all the drama that's surrounding the siblings. It's just a great introduction into the series when you meet Capone and when you reflect on from Capone 1 to Capone 3. When you start reading Capone and you get into Capone 1, you think about it as the introduction. This is really the start of it all within the series. We are introduced to more characters. Outside of the three main siblings, we are introduced to Erin, we're introduced to Jaden, Joe, Rye, Trilla, Timmy, Joey. It's just so many wonderful characters that add so many like moving parts into the storyline. But one thing about it, even though it's an introduction to the families, their drama, the siblings and everything like that, it was just so captivating. Like, yes, we have drama. Yes, it's shoot 'em up, bang, bang on the highways and stuff like that. But we're also met with their struggles, how they're navigating things in life that a lot of us could relate to, like, grief, heartbreak, family members in prison, those who've dealt with, people following bad company, drugs, that type of vibe. Once again, Capone 1 is basically the who's who in this storyline. Let's get into it. And then when we go into Capone 2, that's when we dive in deeper into character. That's when the character development really starts to blossom. So I think I may have put too much glue on some of these parts. So But I'm liking it so far. I'm liking it so far. I feel like I kind of did a straight pat thing here with these, but I'm liking it so far. I'm gonna show you guys in a minute. All right, so this is just the rim of the hat, and now we're gonna go to the base. Like I said, this is gonna dry. It's gonna dry clear. This is the glue. Okay, it dries clear, so it might look a little cloudy, and that's because I use a lot, which I should know better, but I really want the gems to stay on there, you know, but it's gonna dry clear, so I ain't too worried. Okay, so I just showed you guys the rim, and now we're gonna do the surface. So in Capone 2, now we are diving deeper into the characters. The character development is really sounding like bam, bam, bam. The characters are showing their ass. They are. And one thing I do have to give praise to is with these authors is when you create a story with so many characters, I'm amazed that no two characters is the same. Every character is different. Every character brings something to the table, and it's just like, I just think that's so cool. And I think that's also why I can't be a writer, because that's a lot. But y'all got it. Y'all are amazing, and that's why that's why I use the writers and I'm just the reader and the reviewer. And I could work with that. Okay, my problem with this here now is I'm going to have to tilt it to the front so that these stones that's on the top don't slide down because of the glue. I don't necessarily want too much red on the top because, you know. And the good thing with this design is that it's a sporadic thing. So there's no right or wrong way how I do this. This is just how I want to do it. You guys do it how you want to do it. It's just how I can do it. Yeah, so with this many characters being introduced in this series is just so amazing to see that no two characters is the same. Like everybody has like this distinct personality that sets them apart. Like Capone, when we're introduced to Capone, he does not have a lot of patience. Capri is in that era where she's trying to find herself. Erin is so independent and is trying to learn how to accept Capone for being a provider instead of her always having to do it herself. Jaden is that typical high school kid where he's learning that not everybody's your friend. And then of course we have Ella, who is Capone's child mother of his son, who is learning that he actually has a woman and he doesn't love her anymore. He doesn't love, that's the wrong thing. He doesn't love Ella in the way that she wants to be loved, because in the first one, when we're introduced to them, we were introduced to Capone and Ella, and we got the backstory, you know, they started out as best friends and then they crossed that line, and that's how Capone Jr. was born. But they were better off as best friends, and it shouldn't have crossed the line, but it did. Either which way. In Capone 2 is where we really see the characters start to like gain confidence and really start to flourish and expand in themselves. For instance, Erin is one of those who really starts to flourish in Capone 2. Like, she wasn't always so meek, but she was also, like I said, that strong, independent girl and trying to learn to accept that Capone is her man, and when he say he gonna do something, he gonna do it. And then Jaden, you know, he's going through a lot of things. He lost his first love, his kid, all by the hands of somebody he considered his best friend, even though Erin was telling him that's not your friend. But, you know, you don't have to learn the hard way. as a child. You know, I always think our parents just be talking to talk, but they just be looking out for us, you know. And oh, first thing that I forgot to mention with Capone 1, Erin is Jaden's older sister, and she basically deemed herself like his provider because her dad killed himself and their mom when they were kids. She was 17, Jaden was 3, and then they had to move in with their aunt Joe. So she basically deemed herself like his mom, even though, you know, yeah. So she was always a stickler on him. And then when he started hanging around with Timmy and things starting to go bad with him, like smoking and stuff like that, wasn't going too well. Okay. So I could see here, because I'm twisting and turning this hat, I have to wait till, because I'm rotating the hat and the glue is still wet, some of the stones on the sides are turning, so I'm gonna have to wait in between so that they don't slide. I could also use like a heat gun to kind of speed up the process. Should I do that? I would have to find my heat gun. Okay, so we have to take a pause on the blinging because I'm on elevated because I'm on an elevated surface, and I have to keep twisting a hat that and I have to keep twisting a hat and the glue is still wet. The gems are starting to slide, so we're gonna just give them a few to get tacky so it stays. Okay, so let me show you all what's going on. Okay, so this is what we're looking like so far. I'm just taking a little stop because, as you can see, I'm not on a flat surface, so me constantly twisting the hat around is going to cause the gems to start to move until this glue at least gets tacky and holds it in place. So we're just gonna pause here. We're just gonna pause here when it comes to this, and then I'll have to finish in pieces as the glue starts to dry and it gets tacky so that my gems are not rolling all over the place. But I like it so far. I like it so far. Yeah, I like it so far. And that's all that matters, is that I like it and I'm gonna be happy with it. So back to Capone 2 now. So, you know, Jaden, he's dealing with grief, dealing with a lot of emotions and stuff because now he got hurt by somebody he considered his best friend. He lost his first love, he lost his baby, and he may not be able to play basketball again. So when we get into Capone 2, you know, we are learning his path. We are learning how he navigates all of these changes while being in high school. And Erin is really stepping into motherhood. And Ella is getting her life together in some sort of aspect, however. Not really. She's still very delusional. When we navigate now into Capone 3, this is where Jaden really shows the fuck out. This is where he steps up and like, I'm big dog. Not really big dog, but you know, he really shows Erin that he's not a little boy anymore. That he's not. And she has to really lean into that in order to save her family. She has to trust him. She has to trust him. She has to trust Ella that they have it together and they know what they're doing when somebody commits a home invasion on them. Because now, Trilla, he's the mortal enemy here now because he's the one that's started this whole thing. Well, not really. Well, he didn't start it. It started with a lower level person, but because Trilla always had a bone to pick with Capone, that's just his way of saying, okay, well, we're gonna start all kind of shit. But Capone shows him who's the real boss. So back to Capone 2 now. When we're in Capone 2 is when we are seeing like all the connections, how all these characters are connected with each other. Like we learn that Tevin is Trilla's nephew. Tevin is Rye's MBA boyfriend who has a coke sniffing problem. Capri and Naheem, they're dissolving, and then Kincaid is in the picture. And I just want to say, when it comes to Capri, we need to give my girl a round of applause. Because not Capri getting her two man them to defend her honor. And let's not, I know this was a topic of discussion in the past before about who was the original homie hopper. It might have been Aaron, guys. Let's not forget that Aaron and Naeem was a thing in high school. Like, they were high school sweethearts. And then now she's with Capone. Now, granted, she didn't know they ran in the same circles because they really didn't run in the same circles until they were adulthood. But yeah, don't be trying to say that Capri's a homie hopper because really Aaron started a trend. Yeah, because really and truly Aaron started that trend. So if we gonna call Capri a homie hopper, make sure we add Aaron in there. And like I say, in Capone 3, that's when we also delve into more of Naeem's and Tasha's relationship, because it's learned in Capone 2 of Tasha and Naeem's infidelities. Well, actually, it's learned in 1 and 2, but in 3 is when it really just, it explodes out there. Capone 3, that's when Capri and Naeem really, their relationship dissolves. That's it. Because now Tasha has made it known that, yeah, I was fucking your man and they used to be best friends. And I don't know what Naeem was thinking, because like, why would you fuck with Tasha? And she doesn't even hold a torch to Capri. So in Capone 3, we delve more into that relationship and how that fizzles out. But also we are introduced to Capadonna coming out of jail. And then that's when it leads into Capadonna 1. So now we're going to follow along to his journey. And of course, in Capone 3, you have that infamous chapter that everyone talks about, that one-line chapter. That nigga killed my mama. Really and truly, Capone is unhinged. Like, I'm not really unhinged. I don't even know the word to describe him, because sharing up to the ops mother's funeral knowing that you was the murderer is actually pretty insane. But overall, when we talk through, you know, Capone's 1 to 3, it's a lot in it. Capone is dealing with sickle cell. He has some crises and doesn't take care of himself. He's also trying to figure out how to manage his baby mama drama with Ella and bringing Aaron into the picture, but really having to set that boundary with Ella because she used to have free reign. Capri is trying to find herself, but also trying to figure out what the hell is going on with her marriage, and then deciding the next best steps with her and not only Naeem's relationship, but Kincaid, because now Kincaid is what she would consider a best friend, but also now her lover. And then you have Ella, who is trying to understand why Capone doesn't want her when they used to be best friends before. But the problem is with Ella is that you obtain Capone on false pretenses. You wiggled your way in by trying to be Capri's friend so that you could gain access to Capone. And that's why the relationship never worked, because she was never genuine with that relationship. And then Tasha dealing with Naeem knowing that he was with Capri. And then we have Naeem who gets out of jail and is just like wilding. He's very he's not grateful for Capri at all. And then there's Capadonna, who's behind jail while Capone is fucking shit up behind Trilla. So he has to hold it down in jail so that he can be a free man. And then we have Jaden, who's finding himself again after going through such a traumatic experience. and, you know, losing his first love, losing his baby, learning that his best friend really isn't his best friend. And then you have Joe, who is Aaron's and Jaden's aunt, who took them in when her parents, when Aaron's and Jaden's parents died. So Joe is also trying to navigate now this relationship with her daughter and Aaron. So that's my talk about it. I will take a video of my end product when it continues to finish drying. So remember, books don't expire. By the book, you can read it anyways. On our next Let's Talk About It, we're going to go through Capadonna 1. I think there's a 1.5, 2, 2.5, and 3. See you in the next video. Bye. Alright, so this is our finished product. I just didn't want to do too much because it's already a two-tone hat and it's multiple colors. So I like it. I'm satisfied. I'm happy. Now it's just for it to dry. Let me stop twisting it around. Okay.